Have you ever wondered why a woman's interest fades even when you're giving her everything you think she wants? Why she pulls back, grows quiet, or loses that spark that once felt unstoppable? The truth is, attraction isn't built by what you give. It's built by who you are when you give it. And most men lose that power without even realizing it. They confuse effort with energy, attention with value, and love with need. But a woman feels what words can't hide. She senses when a man has lost his edge, his direction, his sense of self. That's when something inside her quietly switches off. This is the part few men ever understand. Women don't turn off because of what you say. They turn off because of what you project. You might say all the right things, do everything by the book, and still lose her interest, because underneath your actions, she feels uncertainty. She feels when your confidence isn't grounded in purpose, and that's when her attraction begins to fade, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. A woman's attraction is emotional intelligence. It reacts to strength, stability, and truth. When those disappear, so does her desire. You see, the modern world tells men to be nice, to be accommodating, to always say yes, but what it doesn't tell you is that endless approval kills respect. When a man abandons his boundaries, he loses his emotional gravity. A woman can't admire a man who constantly seeks validation from her. She wants to feel safe in his presence, not because he controls her, but because he controls himself. That quiet strength, that calm certainty, that's what keeps her attention burning. Too many men give up their power trying to earn love. They think that if they do more, she'll feel more. But love doesn't grow from effort, it grows from energy. If your energy feels desperate, anxious, or uncertain, no amount of effort will fix it. Because women aren't drawn to perfection. They're drawn to presence, to the man who stands in his truth, even when it's uncomfortable, to the man who doesn't chase attention because he's too focused on becoming better than he was yesterday. If you've ever been ghosted, ignored, or replaced, it's not because you weren't good enough. It's because somewhere along the line you stopped being yourself. You stopped leading your own life and started living for her approval. But here's the beautiful truth. You can reclaim that power right now. You can become the kind of man who doesn't need to prove his worth, because his presence speaks louder than his words ever could. And when you reach that place, everything changes. Stay with me through this entire journey, because by the end, you won't just understand what turns women off, you'll understand what draws them in on a level most men never reach. This isn't about manipulation or tactics. It's about awakening the part of you that's been buried under fear, self-doubt, and confusion. It's about rediscovering your masculine essence, the grounded, calm, self-assured energy that silently commands respect. You're about to see how attraction truly works, not through chasing, convincing, or performing, but through alignment, confidence, and purpose. Because when you embody strength, not aggression, confidence, not arrogance and focus, not fear, something magnetic begins to happen. Women don't just notice you, they feel you, they respect you, and they stay drawn to you, not because of what you do, but because of who you've become. Every woman can sense when a man's confidence is borrowed instead of built. You can wear the best clothes, drive the right car, and speak with all the charm in the world. But if your confidence depends on how others react to you, it's an illusion. Real confidence doesn't need to prove itself. It speaks in silence, through your energy, through the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. That's the kind of presence that draws women in without effort. It's not arrogance, it's certainty. And it comes from knowing who you are, not needing someone else to define it for you. What turns women off faster than anything is insecurity disguised as confidence. The man who constantly needs to be validated, who can't handle rejection, who feels threatened when she doesn't respond the way he expects. She feels that energy instantly. It tells her he's not stable within himself. That kind of man makes her nervous, not inspired. She doesn't pull away because she doesn't like him. She pulls away because she doesn't feel safe to open up around him. Emotional safety is the foundation of attraction. And safety doesn't come from control, it comes from inner peace. When a man has inner peace, he stops chasing reactions, he stops trying to convince anyone to see his worth. He understands that attraction is not a performance, it's a reflection. You attract what you embody. If you project calm strength, you'll draw in calm energy. If you radiate desperation, you'll attract chaos. That's why the most magnetic men are those who move with purpose, not need. They don't rush to impress, they let their energy speak first. They trust that what's meant for them will recognize them. That quiet trust is what makes women curious, intrigued, and connected. So many men confuse emotional availability with emotional neediness. They believe that opening up means oversharing, constantly expressing every insecurity, or expecting her to fix their pain. But vulnerability is not dumping your emotions. It's owning them. It's saying, you know what I feel, but I'm still grounded. It's strength, not weakness. When a man owns his emotions without letting them control him, it creates a rare kind of balance, one that women crave but rarely find. It shows emotional maturity, and maturity is the most irresistible form of masculinity. A woman wants to feel that your world doesn't collapse without her. She wants to know that your happiness doesn't depend on her validation. That's when she feels free to love you, because love can only grow where there's freedom. When she feels like your life already has meaning, your presence already has direction, she doesn't feel pressure to complete you. Instead, she feels inspired to walk beside you. That's how attraction turns into admiration, and admiration turns into loyalty. The truth is, most men lose women not because they're not enough, but because they forget who they were before they met her. They stop leading their own path and start orbiting around her emotions. But when you stand in your own light, when you show her that you can love her without losing yourself, everything changes. That's when she feels safe, seen, and deeply drawn to you. Not because you try to impress her, but because you remind her of strength in its purest form. Stay connected to that truth. Build it, protect it. Because the more grounded you become, the less you'll chase what's not meant for you, and the more you'll attract what truly aligns with you. That's the point where attraction becomes effortless, where love stops being a pursuit and starts being a reflection of who you are becoming. The moment a man begins to lose his sense of purpose, everything else starts to fall apart. His confidence weakens, his energy shifts, and his presence becomes hollow. A woman can feel it long before he even realizes it himself. She feels the difference between a man who's chasing his mission and a man who's drifting without direction. And no matter how much she may care, she cannot stay drawn to a man who has lost his fire. Because deep down, she's wired to respond to purpose. It's what makes her feel safe, inspired, and emotionally alive. Purpose is not about success or status. It's not about money or attention. It's about having something that gives your life structure and meaning beyond the validation of others. It's the quiet reason you wake up and move forward even when no one is watching. When a man is aligned with his purpose, his energy becomes magnetic. He doesn't need to prove anything because he's already anchored in something bigger than himself. That energy is what keeps a woman's attraction alive. It's what tells her, and this man is going somewhere and I want to be part of his world. When that purpose disappears, insecurity takes its place. The man who once led with vision starts to overthink every word, every reaction, every silence. He becomes emotionally reactive, needing constant reassurance that he's enough. But here's the truth. Women aren't turned off by emotion. They're turned off by instability. They lose interest when a man's emotions control him instead of guiding him. Because when his emotions lead, she feels like she has to carry the weight he dropped. And no woman wants to mother a man she's supposed to admire. The masculine energy that attracts women isn't dominance. It's direction. It's that quiet focus that says, I know where I'm going, and nothing will shake that. It's not loud or forceful. It's calm, grounded, and unwavering. When you carry that energy, she feels safe in your presence because she senses your strength isn't for show. It's built from discipline and purpose. That's why confidence without direction always feels empty. You can talk strong, act strong, even look strong, but without purpose, it's just noise. The truth many men avoid is that a woman doesn't want to be your purpose. She wants to walk beside a man who already has one. When you make her your whole world, she feels the pressure, not the passion. What starts as affection turns into suffocation. She doesn't want to complete you. She wants to complement you. The difference is everything. One drains her energy, the other inspires it. When she sees a man grounded in who he is, driven by something meaningful, her respect for him grows naturally. And respect is the seed of lasting attraction. So if you've ever wondered why the spark fades, look inward. Ask yourself, have you stopped chasing your mission and started chasing her approval instead? Because a woman will never stay loyal to a man who's not loyal to himself. She can't admire what's uncertain. She can't follow what doesn't lead. But when you live with conviction, when you move like a man who knows his worth, even in silence, she feels it. She feels the depth of your focus, the strength in your restraint, and the calm power in your presence. That's what reignites her attraction. Not words, not promises, but purpose. A woman begins to lose interest the moment she senses a man's energy shifting from confidence to control. Control comes from fear. Fear of losing her, fear of being replaced, fear of not being enough. And the more a man tries to control, the more she pulls away. Because control doesn't create connection, it destroys it. Love cannot breathe in the presence of fear. The tighter you hold, the faster it slips away. What women truly crave isn't control, it's consistency. They don't want to feel owned. They want to feel chosen again and again by a man who chooses himself first. When a man's confidence is secure, he doesn't chase or cling. He gives space, not distance. He leads with calm assurance, not anxiety. And that calmness communicates something powerful. It tells her he trusts himself, and by extension, she can trust him too. Nothing draws a woman closer than a man who can stay composed when emotions run high. Because emotional control is not coldness, it's strength under pressure. It's the quiet message that says, once you can lean on me, even when everything else feels uncertain. That kind of presence doesn't demand respect, it earns it. Men often mistake emotional control for indifference. They think being stoic means being detached. But detachment without depth isn't attractive, it's hollow. True emotional control isn't about hiding what you feel, it's about mastering it. It's the ability to stay grounded in chaos, to speak truth without anger, to walk away with dignity when necessary. That balance, passion without volatility, strength without aggression, is what separates the men who keep a woman's respect from those who lose it. Because she doesn't want to feel dominated, she wants to feel protected. And protection begins with peace, not power. When a man starts reacting instead of responding, when his emotions begin to dictate his tone, his words, his energy, he unknowingly shifts from leader to follower. She feels the instability in his energy and instinctively pulls back. It's not rejection, it's protection. She's protecting her peace from the chaos that uncertainty creates. The more unstable a man becomes, the less she feels emotionally secure. And once security fades, attraction follows. That's not manipulation. It's emotional biology. Women are drawn to stability because it signals safety, and safety is what allows love to grow. So the real question isn't, how do I make her stay? The real question is, how do I stay aligned when she doesn't because that's where your true power lies. Not in controlling the outcome, but in controlling yourself. When you stop trying to manage her emotions and start mastering your own, everything changes. You stop chasing approval and start radiating strength. You stop reacting to her moods and start anchoring her energy. You become the calm in her storm, not another source of it. That's when she begins to trust you again. Not because you forced it, but because you embodied it. Every woman desires a man who is emotionally safe. Not soft, not submissive, safe. A man whose presence doesn't drain her but steadies her. A man who can handle silence without panic, disagreement without disrespect, and distance without desperation. That kind of energy is rare, and that's exactly why it's magnetic. Because when you learn to master your emotions, you no longer compete for attention. You command it, not through force, but through peace. And peace is the one thing every woman feels before she ever falls in love. Nothing turns a woman off faster than a man who abandons his standards. The moment you start lowering your boundaries to keep her, she begins to lose respect for you. Because boundaries aren't walls, they're proof that you value yourself. When a man sacrifices his principles to maintain a connection, he teaches her that his worth is negotiable. And once a woman senses that your integrity bends under pressure, she can no longer trust your strength. Respect dies the moment you stop standing for something. A woman feels safest with a man who knows what he will and will not tolerate. Not because he's rigid, but because he's rooted. Boundaries aren't about control, they're about clarity. They define how you treat yourself and how you allow others to treat you. When you have strong boundaries, you move differently. You don't chase validation, you don't beg for attention, and you don't explain your worth. That quiet certainty creates attraction on a level that words can't reach. It communicates maturity, confidence, and emotional leadership, the very qualities that make a man unforgettable. Too many men lose that power by confusing love with submission. They think that saying yes to everything will make her happy, that avoiding conflict will keep her close. But a woman doesn't want a man who agrees with everything she says. She wants a man who challenges her respectfully. She wants to feel that your values are real, that your opinions carry weight, that you won't collapse under emotional pressure. When you stand firm without being harsh, when you stay calm but assertive, she feels your strength in a way that words can't fake. That's when respect turns into admiration. Respect is the heartbeat of attraction. Without it, nothing else survives. You can be attractive, intelligent, and kind, but if she doesn't respect you, she will never stay. And respect is built through consistency, through doing what you say, meaning what you speak, and living by what you believe. When your actions align with your words, you become a man of stability. And stability is what gives a woman the freedom to trust. That trust transforms her interest from curiosity into commitment. But when you start breaking your own rules to please her, she sees it instantly. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you avoid the truth to keep the peace, every time you apologize for things that don't require guilt, you're silently telling her that her emotions control you. And once she feels that power, the attraction shifts. Not because she's cruel, but because her instincts are wired to test strength. When you fail to uphold your own, she loses the emotional polarity that once drew her in. The strongest men are not those who dominate others, but those who master themselves. They don't argue to prove they're right, they live in a way that makes it obvious. They don't need to raise their voice to be heard because their presence carries authority. That's the kind of energy that keeps a woman intrigued and grounded. Because deep down, she's not searching for a man who gives her control. She's searching for a man who gives her peace through his certainty. Every time you honor your standards, you strengthen that energy. Every time you choose truth over comfort, your presence becomes more powerful. You stop being one of many and start becoming one of a kind. That's what separates men who inspire love from men who lose it. Boundaries don't push people away. They draw the right ones closer. And when you hold them with quiet strength, you remind a woman not just who you are, but why she was drawn to you in the first place. The quickest way for a woman to lose attraction is when a man begins to seek her approval more than his own peace. Approval-seeking energy is silent but powerful. It shows up in your tone, your posture, your reactions. It's when you start monitoring every move, measuring every word, trying to predict what will keep her interested. But that energy communicates one thing. You've given her the authority over your worth, and the moment you do that, she feels it. She feels that you're no longer leading your own energy, you're following hers. That's when her admiration starts to fade. Attraction thrives on polarity. on the balance between masculine direction and feminine flow. When a man loses his direction, the polarity breaks. He starts reacting instead of responding, chasing instead of attracting, begging for what once came naturally. But what he doesn't see is that she didn't lose interest because he wasn't enough. She lost interest because he stopped being himself. He traded authenticity for approval. He started hiding parts of his truth to stay liked, not realizing that the truth is the very thing that made him magnetic in the first place. A woman can feel when a man's confidence comes from within versus when it's borrowed from her validation. When it's internal, she relaxes. When it's external, she becomes uneasy. Because no woman wants to carry the emotional responsibility of keeping a man feeling worthy. That's a burden, not a bond. The most attractive thing a man can ever give a woman is emotional certainty, the kind that comes from knowing who he is without needing anyone's permission to be that. That kind of certainty gives her freedom to be feminine, expressive, and soft. It creates space for her to trust the connection without questioning it. When you stop seeking approval, you stop performing. You begin to speak more honestly, move more naturally, and exist more peacefully. You become aligned instead of anxious. And women feel that shift immediately. It's in your eyes, your silence, your energy. You stop trying to impress and you start to express. You stop asking, what does she want me to be? And start living, who am I when I'm at my best? That question alone separates men who inspire desire from men who depend on it. Approval seeking destroys attraction because it kills authenticity. And authenticity is the foundation of all respect. When you're honest about what you think, what you believe, and what you feel without fear of rejection, you communicate power. Not the loud performative kind, but the calm, centered kind that says, and I am enough, whether you choose me or not. That energy is irresistible because it's rare. It's grounded in truth, and truth always commands attention. Every man must learn this simple law. The less you need validation, the more attractive you become. Not because you're detached, but because you're whole. When your self-worth isn't up for negotiation, your presence becomes commanding. Women notice it without you saying a word. It's in your posture, your patience, your energy. They feel drawn to it because it feels stable, and stability is the foundation of attraction. So stop shrinking to fit her expectations. Stop apologizing for your depth, your dreams, or your direction. The right woman doesn't want your perfection, she wants your truth. And the moment you return to that truth, your presence regains its power. You stop chasing her attention, and she starts chasing your energy. Because confidence is not what you show, it's what you no longer need to prove. A woman begins to disconnect the moment she senses that a man has stopped growing. Stagnation is silent, but it's felt deeply. When a man stops evolving, when he stops striving for more than comfort, something inside her loses faith in him. Because no matter how much she loves him, her heart is wired to follow movement, not maintenance. She feels most alive around a man who's in motion, who's constantly becoming, refining, and elevating himself. Growth is the masculine heartbeat. Without it, attraction suffocates. The most powerful thing a man can ever do for a relationship is to keep improving himself. Not to impress her, but to stay aligned with his own potential. When you grow, you bring new energy into the connection. You challenge her to grow too. But when you stop, when you settle into complacency, the polarity begins to die. She starts to feel like she's carrying more emotional weight than you are. And when that imbalance grows, respect fades, because respect cannot survive where effort has disappeared. Many men lose themselves trying to keep a woman by staying the same man they were when they first met. But what they forget is that attraction is dynamic. It thrives on evolution. The man who wins long-term is not the one who clings to what he was. It's the one who continuously becomes more. Growth is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about proving to yourself that you are capable of more than yesterday. That forward motion is what keeps your energy magnetic. It tells the world and her that you are not waiting for life to happen, you're creating it. A man who grows radiates confidence without arrogance. He's not intimidated by other people's success because he's focused on his own progress. He doesn't compete, he elevates. And that mindset is powerful because it creates emotional security. A woman feels it. She sees that you're not stuck in old patterns, not trapped in fear or stagnation. She feels your momentum and it pulls her in like gravity. Because growth isn't just attractive, it's contagious, it inspires her, it excites her, and it makes her feel safe in your presence. Stagnation, on the other hand, breeds resentment. When a man becomes too comfortable, he loses his edge. He stops pursuing goals, stops challenging himself, stops leading with purpose, and the woman who once admired him starts to question what happened to his drive. It's not that she's become ungrateful, it's that she no longer recognizes the energy she fell for. Love without growth becomes routine, and routine without passion turns cold. The man who stops growing unknowingly teaches her to stop believing in the vision they once shared. Every man has two choices: evolve or erode. Growth doesn't mean chasing perfection, it means refusing to settle. It's reading, training, learning, improving, expanding in every dimension of life. Because the moment you commit to constant evolution, you become impossible to ignore. You don't have to prove your worth because your progress speaks louder than any promise. A woman can sense that energy. It's electric. It tells her you're not afraid of discomfort, not afraid of work, not afraid of becoming better. Keep moving forward. Keep sharpening your mind, your discipline, your spirit, because every step you take toward your higher self reignites the attraction that stagnation killed. The man who never stops growing never stops being desired. Not because of what he owns, but because of what he embodies: progress, purpose, and presence. And that combination will always keep the right woman drawn to you, not through fear of losing you, but through the respect of knowing she's with a man who refuses to stop becoming more. Nothing weakens attraction faster than emotional chaos. When a man cannot control his inner world, every part of his presence becomes unstable. His mood swings, his reactions, his energy all begin to fluctuate with every minor event. And a woman feels that immediately. She feels when a man is no longer in control of himself, when his emotions rule him instead of serve him. That's when her trust begins to fade. Because no matter how deep her affection runs, no woman feels safe with a man who cannot stay steady under pressure. Emotional strength doesn't mean being numb or pretending nothing hurts. It means being anchored, even when everything around you shakes. It's the ability to feel deeply without losing your direction. That quiet emotional discipline is rare, but it's what separates the men who drain a woman's energy from the ones who elevate it. A man who can face pain without collapsing into chaos radiates strength on a level words can't describe. His calmness becomes a sanctuary. His stability becomes magnetic. Because when a woman feels that kind of energy, she doesn't just admire him, she relaxes into him. Too many men confuse emotional expression with emotional instability. They think that being open means unloading every feeling, venting every frustration, or seeking comfort in every moment of uncertainty. But a woman is not meant to be your emotional dumping ground. She's meant to be your ally, not your therapist. When you unload instead of process, she starts to feel responsible for your emotions. And that pressure turns attraction into exhaustion. What she truly craves is not a man who hides his feelings, but one who handles them. A man who can say, "I'm struggling, but I'm steady." That sentence alone communicates power. When you lead your emotions, you lead your life. You make choices from clarity, not chaos. You speak from calm, not ego. And that energy changes how people experience you. It earns respect, not pity. It inspires trust, not tension. Women in particular are deeply attuned to this. They feel your vibration before they hear your words. When you're centered, your silence speaks volumes. When you're unbalanced, your words lose weight. Emotional control isn't about suppression, it's about strategy. It's the difference between reacting in fear and responding in strength. A man who has mastered his emotions doesn't need to prove he's strong. His composure does it for him. He can disagree without aggression, walk away without resentment, and love without losing himself. That kind of control is rare because it requires awareness, patience, and self-respect. But once you develop it, your presence transforms. People sense it. Women feel it. You stop attracting drama because you no longer feed it. You stop chasing peace because you become it. Every man must learn this truth. A calm mind is a powerful weapon. The more grounded you become, the less anything external can shake you. You start responding to life, not reacting to it. And that quiet control is what keeps attraction alive, because stability is not boring, it's irresistible. It's what allows love to deepen and respect to grow. So train your emotions as you would your body, strengthen your focus, your patience, your silence, because the man who controls his inner world never has to fear losing his outer one. And that unshakable peace will always be what keeps a woman drawn, not to what you say, but to the calm power of who you are. Every time you choose restraint over reaction, you rise above the version of yourself that once chased validation. Power isn't found in proving your point. It's found in knowing you don't need to. When a man learns to pause before he speaks, to breathe before he acts, he becomes untouchable, not because he's emotionless, but because his emotions are disciplined. That level of control turns silence into dominance, not in a way that suppresses others, but in a way that commands respect without asking for it. People start to sense the difference between a man who's ruled by impulse and one who's ruled by intention. Women notice it instantly. They feel it in your energy before a word leaves your mouth. Your calm becomes a mirror to their chaos. Your composure becomes a reminder of what safety feels like. That's why emotional mastery isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. It's the kind of energy that makes others want to be near you without understanding why. Because your presence speaks of peace, and peace is rare. And the rarer something is, the more valuable it becomes. But maintaining that peace requires discipline. The world will constantly test your balance. People will provoke you. Situations will challenge your patience. And the moment you lose control, you hand them your power. The key is to stop seeing calmness as weakness and start seeing it as strength in its purest form. The man who can stand in a storm without bending to it is a man who has already won the battle within. He no longer needs to dominate others, he dominates himself. That's where true masculinity lives, not in aggression, but in grounded authority. There's a silent dignity in not reacting. It confuses people who expect chaos. It humbles those who try to control you. It reveals the difference between those who operate from emotion and those who operate from awareness. Every time you choose peace over panic, you reaffirm your command over your life. You show that your emotions serve you, they don't steer you. And that kind of strength cannot be faked. It's felt, it's sensed, it's respected. A man who understands this no longer seeks validation from anyone. His confidence is not loud, it's calm. His presence is not forceful, it's firm. He doesn't need to convince anyone of his worth because his energy already declares it. He stops explaining himself because he knows the right people will feel him, not just hear him. That's the quiet power of alignment. When who you are on the inside finally matches how you move on the outside. Women are drawn to that kind of man because he feels safe, not predictable. His stability isn't built on routine, it's built on emotional maturity. He's not afraid of silence, nor does he fill it with empty words. His stillness speaks truth, his boundaries command respect, and his absence, when he chooses it, echoes louder than any argument could. Because a man who knows when to walk away doesn't lose value, he multiplies it. You reach a level where your peace becomes too expensive to give away. You stop engaging with anything that costs your clarity. You stop defending yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop explaining your worth to those who can't see it. Instead, you embody it. You move in silence, not because you're hiding, but because you're focused. You're not proving a point anymore, you are the point. And the world begins to respond to that quiet, unshakable power with the only thing it can offer in return: respect.